How you doing? So, today I'm here to talk to you about the scarcity mindset that I've had for at least like 17, 18 years. So I grew up pretty poor. My mom was on disability, so we got food stamps. I got free lunch at school. But we also had McDonald's, Burger King, Krispy Kreme occasionally. And if we ever really needed money, we could ask my grandparents who lived upstairs. Or we could ask one of my mom's brothers or my dad for help. So we weren't really completely out in the cold. We weren't as poor as some people. So I'm grateful for that, at least. But as I got older and started making money of my own, my spending went up with it. My first paycheck was for about $250 for 2 weeks of work at a Boy Scout camp. I was 15, and it was partially volunteer work, so it wasn't really much compared to the amount of work that we did. But at the time, I was so excited that I spent about $150 of it on a digital camera that day. And I kept using that camera probably at least like 5 or 6 years. I remember the screen got broke, like shattered. I could still record and take pictures with it, but I couldn't see anything on the screen. Because in my mind at the time, I was like, when am I ever going to have the money to buy a digital camera again? It was before smartphones were as good at taking pictures as they are now. Meanwhile, I spent the other $100 on food or maybe a movie, probably a video game or two. And this was pretty much the pattern that would continue for the next 18 or so years. When I finished college, I wasn't sure what to do next, so I started working at a small cafe in my hometown. I had moved back in with my mom in my grandparents' basement, and I had no bills other than my cell phone and car insurance. And yet, I still generally managed to spend most of my money in between paychecks. Excuse me. A lot of it was food, games, movies. Some of it was weed. And I feel confident saying almost all of it was a waste, because I never had any kind of savings until like 2020 or so. And that's a different story, but I spent all of that over the course of 6 months when I quit one of my jobs without... That's a whole other story. Let's not get into that. Let's see. So eventually I moved in with a coworker because going back to my original childhood living situation was killing me mentally. And that was better until the brakes gave out in my car as I was driving down the road. That was fun. And I had to borrow money to pay for it. I lived off of work food because I worked in a cafe, and at home I ate peanut butter crackers for a few weeks. I love peanut butter crackers, but for almost every meal. At the time, I decided enough was enough. Got a job as a social worker in a different state, and the pay averaged out to about $14 or $15 an hour. I forgot to mention at my last job, the cafe, not my, you know what I'm saying. I was making about $10 to $12 an hour. I don't really remember how much it was per paycheck, but it's the lowest paying job I've had in some time. So as a social worker, the pay averaged out to about $14 or $15 an hour, and every month I miraculously ended up with just enough to get by. Never built a savings, kept buying video games, going to see movies and stuff like that. Then I got too stressed out from my social work job and became a security guard for $14 an hour. And when I started the social work job, around the time that I started the social work job, I had quit smoking weed. When I gave up on that and went back to being a security guard, what am I talking about? When I gave up on that and became a security guard, I took back up smoking weed, which is unfortunate. Same thing, I had just enough money every month to get by, even though it was a different situation. Eventually, after about 2 years, I moved back to my hometown, got a job in IT, making $17 an hour. And yet again, just enough money each month to get by. 2 or 3 years after that, got a job in retail and distribution, making $20 an hour. Still had just enough money to get by. Are you seeing the pattern here? I had written my current job pays about $25 an hour, but I just quit that job a few days ago. We'll see how that goes. And until recently, guess how much money I had at the end of every month? Just enough to get by. So, how did this keep happening, you may ask? The answer is a scarcity mindset. Somewhere deep inside me, there's still that poor little kid who remembers being hungry, and the only food available at home was ramen, cereal, scrambled eggs, chips, ice cream. Which again, is more than some people had, but back then I was like, I don't want any of this crap. Like a part of me, a part of you wants that, but as a child you're also like, you're told you should eat healthy and eat salads and real food. We didn't have an oven or a stove in that basement, so anything hot was prepared in the microwave, and I think we had a toaster oven. Yeah, we had a toaster oven off and on, but there's only so much you can do with those and not a stovetop. We had an electric skillet, but that was not the best. So now, as an adult, my inner child is like, we have money. We need to spend it all before it disappears. Stock up the pantry, stock up the fridge, re-up on weed, buy the new video game that you want. And because I was smoking so much and unaware of what was going on at a subconscious level, I just kept rolling with it. I never learned any kind of lesson from it. This went on for over 15 years. Even when my freezer froze over from all the old freezer-burned pizza rolls, pizza bagels, Tyson chicken, frozen pizza crap, I just chiseled it all out, tossed it, and started doing it all again. That sounds like an exaggeration, but that really happened. And the weed. So much weed. The prices varied depending on the dealer, the strain, which city and state I was in. It could be anywhere from $40 every 2 weeks to $100 every 2 weeks. I'm sure sometimes it was more than that, $100 every week or $200 every 2 weeks. And of course, weed gives you munchies, so I'm going to keep buying fast food and chips, empty calories and stuff. When I was at that IT job, I was so bored while I was there and so depressed and unfulfilled that one day in college I had roommates who smoked cigarettes, and one day at my IT job I was like, let me just get a pack of cigarettes to help pass the time. I'm sure everybody says this at one point if they smoke cigarettes. Don't ever smoke cigarettes. Just don't. It's not, the little relief that you get in the moment is just not worth all the time and money and lung capacity that you lose smoking cigarettes. It's just not worth it. It started small, maybe like 1 cigarette a day, but inevitably my body, my brain, my overall mood and demeanor became dependent on cigarettes. At my worst, I was smoking a pack a day, which could be as low as $7 or $8, maybe $6 if you got the cheap brand, but it could also be as high as $11 if you bought it at like Publix or somewhere that doesn't want you to buy cigarettes. Yeah, I took up smoking in fall of 2019 and I quit last summer, 2024. And now we're going to do some math to see how much money I wasted. Yay! So let's say I smoked a pack a day starting on January 1st, 2020 through June 4th, 2024 at an estimated average price of $8.50 a pack, with 1,616 days between these dates. At my worst estimate, I spent $13,736 on cigarettes alone. $13,000. At one point, I think it was in 2022, I did quit for like 3 months, which is to say I swapped to vaping for 3 months. And some days I did manage to smoke less, but some days I managed to smoke more. So the figure is probably still over $10,000, even if I'm overestimating. And if you just calculate that down to 1 month, that's $255 a month, or over $3,000 a year. And I was still living like basically paycheck to paycheck. I was accumulating a savings at my IT job and at my retail job, but I could have accumulated so much more. I could have saved up and like moved to a different country, or a passport is only like like $300 or $400, and a plane ticket is also, I mean, if you're going to Europe, it's probably over $1,000. But I could have gone to Europe and back at least once. Oh, with the full $13,000, I could have done it several times, but instead I was inhaling smoke. It would be harder for me to calculate how much I spent on weed, but it's almost certainly even higher than that. I did it for far longer. It's usually more expensive, and you have to buy stuff like grinders and bongs and filters or screens. At one point I bought a scale for some reason. And now let's move on to fast food. Yeah. Yes, you do gotta eat, but cooking at home is cheaper, healthier, and for me it's kind of a pleasurable experience. It's a little ritual making your dinner, and you're not only satisfied once you're done and you have the nice looking food in front of you, then you get to eat it, and then you're going to be even more satisfied. Whereas if you go to like a fast food joint, you pull up, the cashier's angry for no reason. The food isn't even that good. It's like slop half the time, or they didn't leave the food in the fryer too long, and you're like, well, I don't really want to be that guy who's like, hey, these fries are crap, can you put them back in the fryer? So you either just kind of eat it and live with the disappointing fast food experience, or you throw it out and you're wasting food, and then you end up eating more at home, which is even more wasteful. Yeah, so for about a month or 2 or 3 last year, when I had decided I was done with fast food, I had some variation of tacos every night, which isn't, it's not the best idea health-wise, but it's probably healthier than eating McDonald's every day. So let's do some more math. According to the McDonald's app, I could get a large 10-piece McNugget meal for $9.39, $10.26 after tax, which at one point was my go-to meal. I would get a 10-piece McNugget, large fry, and a large Dr. Pepper. And according to the Kroger app, I could get all the stuff I need to make ground beef tacos for $12.67. And that would last me at least 3 or 4 meals. Currently, I think I just eat too much in general, so you could probably stretch it out over 5 or 6 meals, assuming it doesn't go bad by the end of that. Yeah, so I've got it all written out here. I'll probably put it on the screen, maybe over here. Kroger ground beef, 80-20. I think that's 80%. 80% meat, 20% fat, or something. Whatever. That's $5.99 a pound. Old El Paso taco seasoning is $1.25 for 1 packet. Or if you go with the Kroger brand, that's probably $1. Kroger brand taco shells, $1.69 for a pack of 12. Kroger sour cream, $1.25 for an 8-ounce container. And the Kroger Mexican cheese blend, $2.49 for 8 ounces. that comes out to $12.67. And if you add like a bag of white rice or a little 90-second ready rice or Uncle Ben's whatever kind of rice, that's like $2 or $3 more. And you could even add like, I don't know, a little bag of lettuce for like probably another $2 or $3. I don't really like shredded lettuce. But in total, what I just added to it is probably like $16 or $17 before tax. After tax, probably 17 or 18. And again, the McDonald's meal was $10.26 after tax for one meal. Whereas this is for at least 3 meals if you eat a lot, maybe 5 or 6 if you don't eat a whole lot. And this is real food, not frozen, not prepared by some stranger who might not be up to date on food safety laws, or who might think you looked at him funny so he spit in your burger for no reason. So do you see why cutting fast food is so effective for your health, for your wallet, for society? Plus, it's just a mental thing. Like, if you eat at McDonald's every day, you're going to feel like crap. So mentally, you're going to be like, it's just kind of a self-repeating cycle. Like, you feel like crap, so you're like, oh, I don't want to bake, I don't want to cook anything. Let me just go get some McDonald's. And then, of course, the next day, you'll feel like crap because you ate McDonald's again. You'll be like, oh, I feel like crap, let me just go to McDonald's and get... Whereas if you break that cycle and make tacos or a salad or even a roast beef sandwich at home, it's almost certainly going to be better than McDonald's in every way. I mean, at this point, there's not even a convenience factor. Like, you have to walk in and wait for the people to make eye contact, and so you can finally say, oh, I've got order of 1624, and they're like, oh yeah, it's been sitting over here behind the counter for 10 minutes, so it's nice and lukewarm for you. And there are all these other little things that add up when you're in this kind of mindset. All the great deals you get on Steam, some mobile game that convinces you to add 200 gems for $1, some random Amazon gadget you use once and forget about or misplace it. All the streaming services. At one point I had Hulu, Paramount Plus, HBO, Disney, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Curiosity Stream, and probably some other ones I'm kind of forgetting about. And each of those range from about $10 to $20 a piece. At some point over the last year or so, I canceled all of them. I mostly watch YouTube, but my comfort shows I have on DVD or I have saved in other ways, like Star Trek, Farscape, Stargate, anything with the word star in it with 2 syllables, I guess. And some of them I have on DVD or Blu-ray too, because I was like, why am I paying for 8 different streaming services when I'm only watching like 2 to 5 shows every week? And even if there is something new I want to check out, like I've started watching Columbo at one point. It's a pretty cool show, but it's all on Tubi. So is Star Trek, and I can just put up for like a minute's worth of ads. I can just mute the TV, play with my cat for a minute or 2, and then the ads are over and I can just watch my show, rather than paying $10 to $20 a month per streaming service. And if you're not ready to stop streaming the newest show, the newest episodes or whatever, there are other methods, such as Tubi. Yeah, I hate ads just as much as anybody else, but you can go to the bathroom, you can, if it's long enough, you can wash some dishes, maybe take those 100 empty cups or empty water bottles to the trash, finally. There's so much you can do in a minute or 2. And I'd rather do that than pay $15 a month to just be overwhelmed by all the choices of shows I've never heard of. So yeah, this is kind of rambling, I guess, but I'm probably going to title this video what I titled it on my page here. Are you really as poor as you think you are? Because I have a feeling some of you are not. I certainly wasn't. I thought I was, because I was in a scarcity mindset where you just think you're broke, so you are broke. If you act like you're broke, you're going to be broke. How many times can I say the word broke in this video? Yeah, so just take control of your finances, and I'm sure you've heard this before if you've ever looked into sorting out your finances, but write up a budget. Like, genuinely, I think I even have one in here somewhere. No, it's on this, where I calculated to see exactly how much I could live off of every month, and it was like way less than I expected, and I'm like, where's all my money going? According to this, I estimated that I could live off of about $2,200 a month, which is like $24,000 a year after taxes, so probably closer to $30,000 or so. And I pay almost $1,300 for a one-bedroom apartment that I just re-signed the lease on like last month, so that's great. But without my rent, this says I could live off of about $1,000 every month. $930, but I rounded up. So I was like, why am I working a job that pays me $25 an hour, but I hate it more than I've ever hated any job I've ever had. I was like destroying myself mentally just to work at this job that I never wanted in the first place. I started working here out of desperation. Several family members have worked at this job and they retired, and well, yeah, I covered all this in my original video, so I won't rehash everything, but I was like, why am I running myself into the ground for such a crappy job when I could live off of $2,200 a month, which is, shoot, I think I did the math. I think it's something like $18 an hour, which is still, it's not a lot, but it's, you know, more than like a fast food place or Walmart probably pay. Yeah. So are you really as poor as you think you are? Thanks for watching. I hope this helps somebody out there, and let me know if you have any questions or want any other. I've got several other video ideas. Hello. I'm just slowly starting to get the ball rolling on this, and I hope it goes somewhere.